Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. Things, of course, a bit different. Mr. James Shue not joining me here at AMC Town Square to watch Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. That's very, very important. They're working on a gig. They'll be back next week, but don't worry, I am here to talk about the latest Fast and the Furious franchise installment, Hobbs and Shaw. If you would have told me in the early 2000s that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was going to be teaming up with Jason Statham to be in an action movie, a buddy cop movie, if you will, I don't think I couldn't have been more excited. Problem is, once you make that movie after 7 other Fast and Furious movies, this movie kind of really feels drained of all of its energy. Now, don't get me wrong, I think The Rock and Jason Statham actually have a solid chemistry. I think there's a lot of great moments here in this movie where they're able to bounce off of each other, really get some good jokes going. Obviously, they're setting it up to be a sequel and for The Rock and Jason Statham to work together in future movies. But here it just feels like it is so beyond what all this started as. Now, I think if you make this movie with the same 2 actors, with a different title and different characters, you're able to do a really fun and kind of unique new buddy cop movie. Now, of course, The Rock did Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart. He went and did, he's done his work in that kind of genre. So why not stick with the Fast and Furious franchise? Well, it's because the movie has every movie the Fast and Furious franchise has continued to get wilder and wilder. Remember, this was a movie that started about street racing, and now in 7, in 5 you have a vault being robbed from a bank, and it's flying over the streets of Miami or Florida, if you will. Actually, it might be Cuba. No, Brazil. And then you have, in 7, you have guys jumping over freeways, cars flying in between 2 buildings, all the sort of kind of crazy things that make you just go, this is no longer a movie that's set in reality. And that's fine. But as you progressively get crazier in this movie, I mean, we have a robotic man, a man who almost has his version of a Batmobile bike. I mean, if he jumps on the floor and the bike is tilted, it's driving itself, it can lift him up. We're basically in the superhero universe, only no one calls them superheroes and they don't have capes. It's really such a massively big and wild and unbelievable world that it's just kind of hard to enjoy the simple chemistry that these 2 share. I think you put them in a more realistic setting. I think you have all the Fast and the Furious nonsense shredded from this. I think you have a really solid movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some cameos in the movie that I'm sure people are going to love and get a crack out of. They didn't do much for me. It wasn't something that I necessarily cared to see, but I get it, right? Like, I think it's going to make audiences laugh. Again, I think it works 10 times better when you make it a property of your own because you're not dependent on these characters. I mean, the wilder and wilder they need to get to make impressive action beats. At one point in the movie, there are 5 pickup trucks towed together, attached to a helicopter, scraping the sides of a mountain in Samoa, and you're just like, all right, how much longer can I kind of just follow this and accept it? And then you actually get to the action beats that matter, and what is it? No, it's not any of these crazy helicopter car sequence. It's not when there's 5 cars towed together. It's actually just a simple action sequence with Idris Elba, Jason Statham, and The Rock. When we get there, it's really fun, it's really exciting, and you're just like, man, we really don't need all the nonsense that they think that we need. We really don't need the 50 CGI shots of explosions and all these things. Like, all we want are these 3 just showing off their skills. There are great action beats. There are some moments of comedy. But for me, this movie was just a ship that sailed long ago. We needed to start fresh. I hope Jason Statham and The Rock work together, but I hope it's in a property of their own where they don't have to be attached to these characters or this outrageous world. If they want to be crazy, and I'm not, and don't get me wrong, guys, I've seen plenty of action movies that are realistic and wild and out there. There's a really great moment in the movie, actually, where there are posters of another 48 Hours and other great Lethal Weapon and all great buddy cop movies that we know and love. And I would just love to have seen just a standard detective story, but unfortunately, this is what we got. Make sure to tune in next week here at AMC Town Square for discounted tickets. I'm Chasing Cinema, Film Movers website.